Hey, true believers, this is part 2 of our Bond series, or two-parter, whatever you want to call it. I'm here with Reggie.
Hello.
How's it going?
Fine. You lied.
I lied.
You said there'd be Bond girls here.
Oh,
I don't see no girls here.
well,
Man.
I did lie. I'm a villain. That's what I do. There's not going to be any girls at any party that I host. I'm just going to let you know.
Well, my wife wouldn't let me come anyway if there was. So.
Let's see. So we're talking about James Bond. We want to kind of do an overview of the character. Like, this character has really become larger than life. I mean, he's almost like Batman and Superman in his own mythology kind of way. Like he's a big character.
Is there any other character out there, movie-wise? I won't say necessarily book-wise, but movie-wise that would come close?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I can't think of anyone.
I can't think of anyone either that would be around as long.
I mean, Doctor Who is TV, if you want to count that. But,
Yeah.
and really, Doctor Who
Who's really the British version of Star Trek, is the way I look at it. It's a sci-fi thing, but it's kind of their Star Trek type of series.
Doctor Who didn't really have the mass appeal that James Bond had, at least until, like, he does now, maybe, but this has all been fairly recent, I think.
Yeah, Doctor Who in the last 10, 15 years has gotten a real big popularity boost.
Yeah, over here. I'm sure he's always been popular in the UK, but... when I was a kid, I'd never heard of Doctor Who.
I'd never heard of Doctor Who until my wife started watching the series with David Tennant.
Yeah. He was the one that made it popular, right, over here?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's when it started really getting... I don't remember who was showing it over here at the time.
Just so you know, I know very little about Doctor Who. I will say I did see that one episode where,
Now, if you ever want to do a Doctor Who podcast, I suggest you have my wife on.
All right, fair enough. I did see that one episode where this is... I'm sorry, it was pretty cheesy. They're running and they're like, oh my gosh, the monsters are behind it. And they call them angels or something, and they were statues.
Weeping angels.
Yeah. And it's like, that is the cheesiest effect I've ever seen. Then they're behind us again, and then there's statues. And
there's some of those Doctor Who episodes, whether you want to call them cheesy or not, there's some one that if you watch them from beginning to end, psychologically,
yeah.
I mean, they mess with your head.
What's funny is, I saw that and I was like, that is so cheesy. I bet this is the lamest episode. And then it turns out that the Weeping Angels are a fan favorite.
Oh yeah,
character. I found that I found that out later. I was like, huh, that's weird.
Yeah, there's some really serious Doctor Who episodes that'll really make you think, or kind of in their own way, that are just creepy.
Yeah,
but. My wife follows Doctor Who way more. I've seen some episodes here and there just because, she's been watching them. So I watched one or two here and there. But
yeah,
which my wife is surprised I'm not a Doctor Who fan, considering the kind of the nature of the show, kind of science fiction-y in a certain sense. But it's just not my cup of tea. Yeah. So, and that's no pun being, since it's UK.
I was about to ask.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, well, in
I'm
England,
not that smart.
In the UK, they have they have a show for everything that they just run forever, and that's it. They've got James Bond, they've got Doctor Who. For comics, they've got Judge Dredd, and that's it. They don't do anything else. They just run them into the ground. Here we do it a little differently. We just rip off something that was famous before and run it to the ground, but give it a different palette swap or whatever. So anyway, James Bond was originally written and created by Ian Fleming in 1953. The first book was Casino Royale, which the movie is very faithful to, considering it takes place 50 years later. It is a very faithful adaptation.
Which you and I were discussing before we did the first one.
Yes. And, Casino Royale's, I've read the book twice. I haven't read all the James Bond books. Someday I will. I've only read the first 5 for right now. I think there's 11 novels total, and then 2 short story collections. Someday soon I'll read them all. They're fantastic books. They're a lot edgier than. I mean, that's why I'd say the Daniel Craig version is probably closest. Maybe the Timothy Dalton might be closer, but they're a lot edgier than the movies are. And they're also more down to earth. They're spy stories. They don't really get too crazy.
Yeah, but Hollywood's always known to exaggerate.
Funny story. I really wasn't a huge James Bond fan when I was a kid. Like, I started when I was a kid, I saw GoldenEye, loved it. I loved the hell out of the video game, the N64 game, and I still do. I think that was probably the best N64 game, with the exception of maybe Zelda Ocarina of Time. Maybe. Like, they're pretty neck and neck. Love that game. So then, I went out and I rented the 2 James Bond movies that they had at the grocery store down by my house, and they were Diamonds Are Forever and Octopussy, which are the 2 worst movies. I hate those movies. So, I watched them both. I was like, I guess James Bond just kind of sucks. I don't know why people like this crap. So I watched all the Brosnan movies, but I never thought I'd be interested in the older ones until Casino Royale got me interested. So then I went and watched all the old ones. I was like, okay, now this is a good series. This is a really good series. So really, I'm a little new, 10 years, but I'm a little new to the series as a whole. But I'm a big fan of the series. I really enjoy it. Fleming based his fictional creation on a number of individuals. Oh, well, yeah, I'm reading notes. That's inorganic. I shouldn't do that. But he based his character off of a lot of people that he met while he was in the Naval Intelligence Division during World War II, which sounds about right. The name James Bond is actually kind of funny. It comes from It comes from an ornithologist, an American ornithologist. An ornithologist is a person who studies birds. And it was sitting on Ian Fleming's shelf. And he was trying to think of the most boring name that he could think of for his character. He wanted this character to go on extraordinary adventures, but he wanted him to be kind of drab and boring, just this boring guy in this fantastic adventure. And he looked at his ornithology book and saw James Bond, and he thought, that is a boring book. That's what I'm going to name my character. And he even called the guy up later and told him but which is pretty funny. But I have a quote here actually. When I wrote the first one in 1953, I wanted Bond to be extremely dull, uninteresting man to whom things happened. I wanted him to be a blunt instrument. When I was casting around for a name for my protagonist, I thought, my God, James Bond is the dullest name I ever heard. Now, his appearance, and they say this a couple times in the book, his appearance is based on a singer in America from the 1940s named Hoagy Carmichael. Nobody remembers who Hoagy Carmichael is anymore, which is really funny because when you read the first couple books, everyone's like, oh, he looks just like Hoagy Carmichael. And so you're reading the books and you're like, who is that? So then you look him up and it's like, oh, he was a singer. But, yeah, I've got quotes from the books. I've got, here's from Casino Royale. Vesper Lind, which you'll remember from the movie, remarks, Bond reminds me rather of Hoagy Carmichael, but there's something cold and ruthless. And then they bring it up again in Moonraker when the Bond girl, who in the book was named not Dr. Goodhead, but in the book her name was Gala Brand, says, Bond is certainly good-looking, rather like Hoagie Carmichael in a way. And it's like, we get it. Like, and he always used to say, there was, I should have gotten this quote too. He also used to say that, maybe I did write it down, like a comma. No, I didn't write it down, but he always used to say that he had a comma of hair that came around his ear. Like, he uses that all the time in those books when describing him. A comma of hair, like comma, like the punctuation mark, which is a weird way of describing him, but it works. Let's see. And yeah, so that's that. He's had the Walther PPK is pretty famous for James Bond, but he didn't start using that in the book until Dr. No. Dr. No is not the first movie of the book. Dr. No is the first movie, but it's not the sixth book.
It's not the first novel, no.
Yeah. And actually in the movie it's kind of funny because M tells Bond to give him his Beretta 418 and says,
in Dr. No.
Yeah, at the beginning, and he's like, give me the Beretta 415, I'll give you this Walther PPK. And that is straight out of the book. The thing is, he used the Beretta 418 in the first 5 books, but they kept that in the movie anyway. But he used that in the first 5 books, and then I'm assuming, I haven't read Dr. No, but I'm assuming in the book, it's just like the movie where he's like, let me take that and give you the Walther PPK. And there is a story behind that. There was a gun expert who was a fan of the books, but didn't like the Walther PPK. Now, I am not a gun expert by any means, but he referred to the Beretta 418 as a lady's gun. I know it was a different time. To me, a gun's a gun. I don't know why a certain gun is for girls and one is for boys, but it was the 1950s, so there you go. But so then, this gun enthusiast told Fleming that he should use the Walther PPK instead. It's kind of weird. It was the 50s. It was a different time, to be sure, but there you go. And he used the Walther PPK in almost all the movies. I guess he didn't use it in Tomorrow Never Dies. He used a Walther, I just wrote it down, a Walther P99 semi-automatic pistol. So just a different model of the gun, essentially. I don't know why they changed it in the later Brosnan movies, but...
Don't know. Maybe they felt an update of...
Probably. They probably thought that it needed to... They probably thought he needed a bigger gun.
Maybe update, still keep it within the same, but just... I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. What does Bond use in the Craig movies? Is it? I'm assuming it's still a Walther PPK, but...
Yeah, what is he using Casino Royale? Is he using the Beretta in that one? I don't think he's using a Beretta. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a gun expert. I'm not going to pretend to be.
I think that's kind of a minor. I don't know. I guess some people might find it a major deal. I don't know. I mean,
yeah. I don't know what he uses on Casino Royale. Well, no, they do give him the Walther PPK at the hotel. Remember, he gets that package.
That seems like a bigger than unless. Of course, then again, I'm not familiar with guns and manufacturing and what they all look like and all that. I mean, one of those automatic guns look all the same to me. So
yeah, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I know they give him a Walther at the hotel, but obviously neither of us are gun experts. So we're gonna move on from that one. I just thought that was kind of neat that the gun is part of the story. There's a lot of things that they keep in all these movies too, like the music. They've had the same Bond theme since the first one,
right? And I think that's what makes it so part of the Bond franchise so iconic. I mean, you some people may not say that music makes the movie, but the music is is iconic with the movie. I mean, you hear certain theme songs, and you automatically first thing you hear you reference certain movies. I mean, you hear that theme for Bond. I mean, you automatically think Bond. Same way with Jaws, Star Wars, Star Trek, Indiana Jones. I mean, look at all these iconic movie franchises out there that have such a unique theme that when you hear them, you automatically, in your mind, you put it with that particular movie franchise.
Funny part about the theme, which was written by Monty Norman, in later movies they started orchestrating it, making it like a bigger sound. Like I know, but the original theme, which they still keep in most of the movies here and there, like the original theme was guitar oriented, and it was very much like surfer rock from the 60s. It was like a surfer rock sound, which is so 60s. But it's so funny how that genre of music, which is more or less died out, turned into the spy sound of music. It's so interesting. Because all spy movies have that kind of surfer rock sound to it now.
Now, with talking with music and everything, now we're not talking about the orchestral type with the theme song of Bond, but are you surprised that they still do Bond the way they always have, where you see Bond in some situation, he gets out of it or whatever the case may be, and then they go to that whole starting where they play
the barrel gun,
where they play the entire music of some artist, and it's always a different artist. Are you surprised they still do that with the newer ones? Or has that become so entrenched and so iconic with the series?
I think it's so iconic that they have to keep it, and it's gotten to the point where
it's almost like a big deal now too. It's like
it is like, ooh, the new Bond song. By the way, speaking of now that we're going to the Bond songs, I forgot to bring this up on the last episode. Sam Smith sucks. I love Spectre. The song itself was actually well written, because most of these songs, if you listen, like starting with GoldenEye on up, when they or not GoldenEye, Goldfinger, when they started doing this, the song is really kind of a motif throughout the movie. Like you'll hear like an orchestrated or a symphonic version of that song. Like sometimes they'll play a sad version of it, but like you'll hear it throughout the movie. Like it's usually a motif throughout the movie. So the song itself, the melody is great. The lyrics or whatever, they're always whatever. But and I guess Sam Smith, like, it's better than that other god awful song that he does. I just hate him. I hate him. I hate him and his stupid face. And I hate him and his whiny song. You know the other song he did that.
I'm not a big Sam Smith. My wife is.
Really? Oops. You better be quiet. That "Stay With Me" song.
I couldn't tell you. My genre of music, most people, who cares?
The first time I heard that song, I was like, whatever. And then the second time I heard it, I was like, this is the whiniest.
Well, when I heard it,
crap,
if you're talking about the song he sang in Spectre, it's just when I heard it, it's like, okay, someone's got to be pinching something for him to get that damn high, because it just seemed way too natural for a guy to go that damn high. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, you don't know much about Sam Smith, do you?
As I said, I'm not a follower.
Right. But... yeah, I actually thought the song itself, when used as a motif throughout the movie, was really good. I think it was a well-written song. I just don't like him, and I do agree. He goes in octaves, and he's not even really like that good at hitting those high octaves either.
Now I
like the Adele song better.
There are some Bond songs that have become iconic over the years.
I'll tell you, out of the Craig movies, I like the Adele song better.
That's probably the best one.
No, it's the Chris.
That
Chris Cornell one,
Casino Royale one.
That is a good song. Yes. That's a really good song. And also that movie, he doesn't do the they still have it, but he doesn't do the traditional barrel walk. It's more like just a barrel stand.
It doesn't. Well, he doesn't. You don't get the traditional barrel whatever till the end of that movie either.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then you
that's
get
right.
you get it, but it's at the very end of the movie. And same way you don't get the traditional
Actually,
Bond.
I don't. Do you get the barrel walk at the end of that one, or is that at the end of
Um,
Skyfall?
maybe it's at the end of Skyfall. But anyway, but I know you don't get the traditional Bond music until
Theme
the
until the end,
until
yeah.
the end,
Which was very,
which they did that intentionally.
yeah, it was very Batman Beginsy.
Uh-huh. But it worked for it, though.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
does. It does.
It worked for that. Because he wasn't technically Bond until
the end,
because also he doesn't do his iconic Bond, James Bond, until after he shoots Mr. White.
By the way, now we're thinking of stuff that I could have talked about in the last one. By the way, also in Casino Royale, I remember the first time. This was before I read the book. The first time I saw it, and he gives him his signature. He gives the bartender a signature drink, his dry martini. I forget. I forget all the ingredients.
Yeah.
But his dry martini, and the guy goes, "Shaken or stirred? Do I look like I give a damn?"
Yeah.
Like, I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, "Ha, that's so bad." Like, they're really sticking it to the old one. Like this isn't about tradition anymore. Well, actually, that was straight out of the book.
Ah.
That was straight out of the book, which is funny because if you think about it, on the movies, it's like, well, why was it so important that they decided whether it was shaken or stirred? Like, it is weird because in the book, he's just like, do I look like I give a damn? But in the movies, they're like, no, it must be shaken. It must be. But,
Well, also in Casino Royale, they also kind of make fun of when they're him and Vesper in the car going towards the hotel, and he's overlooking the paper that the porter handed him. And she asked him, "What's all that?" "Oh, just some minor details. Apparently, we're married. I'm such and such, and you're my wife, Stephanie Broadchester." Kind of a homage back to all the stupid names they would give, like Dr. Goodhead and all that.
holy cow, how have I never gotten that joke?
Yeah,
Like, thank you for spelling that out. Broadchester.
Uh huh.
Like, I seriously never got that.
There's so many quote homages.
Wow.
There's so many homages to that movie. Also, when he first meets Vesper in the train, and he goes, "I am the money," and he goes, "And worth every penny of it." There's
I do
just
remember
little
that,
little subtle, to the.
Broadchester. That is so funny. How have I never noticed that?
That's almost as bad as Dr. Goodhead from Moonraker. And,
No, not quite. Well, the worst one is Plenty of Tool.
Oh yeah, from Diamond to Forever.
Yeah, like doesn't that make it like so? When is she like is she transgendered? Because like you think of Tool as dicks, like plenty of dicks. Like here's plenty of dicks.
Well, maybe they're making James Bond more PC.
I still love what was it? Austin Powers. The chick's name was A Lot of Vagina. Which is like honestly also only one step above parody, because they I could easily see the James Bond people like, dang it, we should have used that one.
Well, isn't it also in the Austin Powers movie? Isn't there one of the female spits or whatever?
Oh God,
yeah,
I don't remember. I kind of remember.
Well, which is it, baby? Spits or swallows? There are so many. Austin Powers, when that first came out, used to annoy me. I found it a stupid.
I really liked it,
rip
but
off.
I was like 10.
I've learned to appreciate those movies the longer it's been. Goldmember is probably my favorite of those movies. I don't know. I guess it's because of Beyonce in that movie. I don't know why.
Fair enough.
But yeah, some of those things are just, you don't think about it. I mean, they're parroting so much of Bond, and then you think about it in a certain sense. It's just, they're funny.
Yeah, they're funny movies. The Aston Martin. Now that is an iconic car. There's usually, most movies have not all of them, but most of them have an Aston Martin of some sort. I think there's a couple where he was driving a BMW instead.
Pierce Brosnan ones.
Okay, those are.
I know. In Tomorrow Never Dies, it's a Beamer.
That's right. Okay.
Of course, he also drove a Beamer motorcycle in that one too. So,
yeah.
I think they've tried to bring the Aston Martin back more with the Daniel Craig ones. They kind of got away from the Aston Martins there for quite a while, because there for a while
in Casino Royale.
Casino Royale. Oh God, I can't tell you what he was driving in Casino Royale.
Was it an Aston Martin?
I think it was. And I know the one that he drove in Spectre was specifically designed and built because of Spectre.
Yeah.
It was kind of their way of introducing the new line in a certain sense. So, yeah. And I think what they did in Skyfall was great.
Yeah. Yeah, bringing back the
old one, and then and it had the same exact license plate number as what it originally did. I think it was in was it Goldfinger?
Yeah. Yeah, it was Goldfinger was the one that brought that in. I have let's see. I've got some notes on that. See, yeah, Goldfinger is the Aston Martin DB Mark III. Yeah.
Oh, and they make reference, because that movie. Well, did you notice in Spectre?
Yeah.
At the one part at the beginning of Spectre, it's like Q's trying to put back together the Aston Martin, and then of course
it got shot up in the previous
one.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that a lot. But most movies have an Aston Martin in it. I guess the Brosnan. Goldfinger did have an Aston.
Well, there's
Martin.
a couple of ones I believe in the '70s with Roger Moore. It was Lotus.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I know.
I was just getting there. Yeah.
Let's see. Spy You Love Me had a Lotus, and I want to say either Moonraker or For Your Eyes Only may have had a Lotus in there somewhere too. I thought. So, but I know they seem to be. Because that's when I think Lotus was probably its most popular, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, if it's a high-end, high-priced sports car that most average person can't afford, I mean, Bond will have it.
Yeah. Well, and then on the flip side, like I do love how like Iron Man has kind of done that with Audi. Like they. Like actually, like Audis all over the like it's even like I don't know if you noticed the new Captain America Civil War, all those agents are driving big Audi SUVs,
really,
which is pretty funny. But Avengers, the first Avengers, we've talked about this, but I really want to do a whole story on this car. I want to do a whole show on this car. He's driving.
Well, the Audi.
On Avengers, he's not driving an Audi. He's driving an Acura. Oh God, what was it? It was a car that was never released.
Isn't that the Tesla? Is that the all electric one that can go really fast?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the Tesla, but it might have been electric. I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. I don't really remember. But it was an Acura Tron or something like that. I don't remember, but that car was supposed to come out like they'd been working on it since 2010. That car was supposed to go into market for 2012, so it was in the movie, but at the last minute they ended up never releasing that car. I don't remember why. I think there was an engineering problem or something, so they just kind of scrapped it. They spent enough money and just scrapped. They spent enough money on the production of it and just scrapped it. But so Tony Stark is driving a car that no one else can drive, which in a way makes that even like I know that wasn't the intention when they made the movie, but that makes it even cooler.
So if that car is still around somewhere, I mean that'd be a rare collector's item.
Yeah, but like since it doesn't exist, it's even cooler that Tony like owns the one and only car of that, or one of the few. They might have made more in production, but yeah, but it was a car that was never released for market.
Well, I know in Spectre, from what I read, they spent quite a few millions of dollars of those high expensive sports cars that they drive around in that chase. They destroyed a couple of them. That
chase scene is amazing in Spectre.
So
where are they? They're at the Vatican, right?
They're in Italy.
Yeah, the Vatican.
That chases around Rome and stuff.
Yeah, that scene is amazing on that movie. That's a great chase scene. That movie has a lot of good chase scenes, actually. But yeah, those are... And then, of course, you got the characters. You've got M, who I couldn't name all the actors who played M.
Yeah. Well, the original M did it through, I want to say through Spy Who Loved Me. Spy Who Loved Me or Moonraker.
Okay.
Went through there, and then after that it changed out. And I believe it was the same M all the way, even through after that was the same M they used through the 2 Timothy Dalton movies. And then, of course, it changed to Judi Dench. Now, technically, Judi Dench has played M the longest as far as number of years, but not movies.
Yeah. Because she's been in... Because she was M... Well...
She was in... Well, from what I read, she's the longest M as far as number of years, not movies. No, as far as number of movies, as the guy who originally did it.
Yeah. It's still funny to me how she's essentially playing 2 characters. She's playing M from the Brosnan universe, if I may, and M from since the Craig movies are a reboot, she's playing M in the Craig universe.
Which I think her version of M in that, the way she was to Craig was a great.
I do too.
Was a great
character.
Great character, and it was a great kind of almost. You probably agree. It was a very contentious, almost mother-son type of relationship.
Yes,
and that which made her death in Skyfall even more impactful on. And that was a great Inspector that they obviously had to shoot that in secret when he played that DVD for Moneypenny in his apartment.
The video will.
Yeah. So they had to get her to shoot that at some point in secret. Yeah. So something like that you thought would have leaked on the internet. Ooh, hey, you're gonna see Judi Dench again, but
they're getting better about keeping things secret. I noticed that with starting with Iron Man 3. Like somehow they're getting better at keeping things from leaking. I don't know if they're paying their employees more or what. The crew, the camera jockeys,
who knows,
the audio jockeys. The guys like us.
Well, it's also, if you think about it nowadays, it's a lot harder to keep things secret unless you have a complete closed set inside a building where where the only ones in the building are the ones that's supposed to be on the film. If you're shooting outside with today's technology of cell phones and everyone have a camera and able to shoot video at the touch of a button quickly, I mean, you just can't keep secrets like you used to. I mean, especially with today's photo technology of, not like it was where you could keep secrets from a movie set from years past and not have to worry about it getting out so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, the internet's a good thing and a bad thing if you're a movie production company.
Well, not just that. I remember when I was still listening to music, when I listen to music, but when I was still like you reach an age where you don't really care about
new songs.
But there was a time when I remember in 06 there was a band that I really liked that had kind of been on a hiatus for years, and it was real exciting that their album was coming out. Well, it leaked. So, of course, I was like everyone else. I was like, well, I got to have it now.
Yeah.
So, but music's a little different. It's music. It's different from a movie. And,
right.
The way you enjoy it is different. So, but, so let's see.
What about,
Q? We can't forget Q. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, Q, the guy who played Q originally. I mean,
Desmond Leland.
I mean, he was such an iconic. I mean, he was the embodiment of Q for so long.
He played Q up through
the third Pierce Brosnan one.
The World Is Not Enough.
He died in a car accident in between that one and Die Another Day.
I didn't know he died in a car accident.
Yeah,
wow.
He died in a car accident.
John Cleese took over for Die Another Day.
Now, whether or not he was planning on returning as Q or not, I don't know.
He looked pretty old by that
But
point.
obviously, by the way, what they did in The World Is Not Enough, and kind of having John Cleese in there, you had to wonder if he was thinking about maybe hanging it up, or that was supposed to be his last one. I don't know. They never really said. But they had to be thinking about it at some point.
I'm sure they didn't think he'd die in a car accident though. That's crazy.
I believe he died in
He started in
2000 or 2001. He died in a car accident.
Wow.
And
Well, I know he started in Goldfinger.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of those last of the original. I mean, he was that thread through all of them, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because everyone else changed out. I mean, M's changed out.
Felix Leiter, they changed every freaking movie.
It seemed like.
Like, remember on Dr. No how Felix Leiter's like this young guy, and then on Goldfinger,
in Dr.
this old fat
Dr.
dude.
No, in Dr. No, Felix Leiter is the guy who would end up playing on Hawaii Five-0 all the way through the 70s.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I can't think of the actor's name right off the top of my head. Oh, Jack Lord.
Yeah,
There we go.
Jack Lord.
Jack Lord.
But yeah, that's Q. Q was I always liked Q. I like the new guy who plays Q also.
I like the way they've done with Q.
Yeah.
He's more interactive with Bond, not just a 5-minute
Yeah,
laugh
here's
scene.
Here's your gadget.
Yeah.
That's my sandwich.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I did like Q at the end of and we'll get to this movie in a minute, but at the end of On Her Majesty's Secret Service during the wedding scene, I really like Q during that scene. I think his performance is really good at that part. So, first movie was Dr. No.
okay, real quick for you. I don't mean to interrupt you again. Can you name all the Can you name all the Bond movies in order as they came out off the top of your head without looking?
Yeah, I think so. Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Diamonds Are Forever, Live and Let Die, Man with the Golden Gun, The Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker. Almost fell for that trick they played 20 years ago, 30 years ago. For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy, View to a Kill, The Living Daylights,
License
to Kill, and then it was GoldenEye. Now this movie, ever since I was a kid, this movie, there's something wrong with my brain. I don't know if I was hypnotized or what, but I can never remember the name of this movie. It's the second one after GoldenEye. And I knew this was going to happen. It has like dye in it.
No,
but it's similar. It's Tomorrow Never Dies.
yes.
That, for some reason, that movie, and I knew it was going to happen. That movie, I always forget the name of the title. I think there's like a program error in my brain that just does
Maybe
not.
because you just don't really like it. It's just you.
Well, I
skip it.
don't hate it. Like, I mean, it's a fine movie. I just don't care for it as much as some of the others. But no, it's for some reason it's like a program error that like I always forget the name of the title, and I remember everything about the movie. Like I remember the villains, the girl, like the storyline. Like it's not a forgettable movie. Like it's definitely one of the big ones. But for some reason the title just it's really weird. So after that it's The World Is Not Enough, Die Another Day, Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, and Spectre. Yes, I can name them all in a row as long as that one movie that's gone now.
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Tomorrow Never Dies. That is so weird. Like that is the weirdest thing. But yeah, it'll leave my memory immediately.
Not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, not everyone can lip them all off in order.
No.
I mean, it was stupid by now. But
I used to be able to name all the presidents of the United States in order. I'm not going to do that now because it starts getting a little hard after James K. Polk.
Okay, you can go back to your original thought. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Well, Dr. No was 1962. That was the first movie starring Sean Connery. It was produced by Harry Steltzman and Albert R. Broccoli, who were the main producers for most of the movies, most of the early ones. Based on the sixth book. First movie with a gun barrel intro, and it was the first movie with the iconic Bond song that would be on forever. The next movie was From Russia with Love. It was directed by Guy Hamilton, who did a lot of these early movies. He directed most of these early movies. Based on the fifth book. The book is really good. It's the last book that I read. The thing about the book is the book was... Ian Fleming didn't know if he was going to continue writing this character at the time. At the time, he thought that this might be it was meant to be the last book of the series. But he thought just in case he comes back, he'll kind of leave it on a little cliffhanger. And it's a good book. I would also rank this movie in my top 5. Like it's a really good movie. And there are a lot of people that would put it as their number 1 movie, and I don't disagree. Like, I mean, it's a very good movie. It also had a video game that was released in 2005, starring Sean Connery. Sean Connery came back and reprised the role for the video game.
Really?
Yeah, I used to own it. It wasn't like the best game in the world, but it was a good game. And this was after, he retired from movies after, oh God, what was that?
League of Extraordinary
Gentlemen. Do you know what that was based off of?
I know it's either comic or book or something that was...
It's a comic book, a graphic novel, whatever you want to call it. But it was a comic book written by... Alan Moore, the guy who did Watchmen.
Really?
Yeah. And it's actually a pretty good book.
Huh.
The movie is terrible. And that's why Alan Moore, I don't think that's why he hates movies, but the fact is with Alan Moore though, Watchmen was pretty good movie, and V for Vendetta was a pretty good movie. So like 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So he should kind of get over it. But at the same time, though, he's against commercialization. But at the same time, you work for a commercialized company. So I don't know. But I love Alan Moore. He's fantastic. I love what he stands for, even though it's kind of silly when you break it down, but it's also not silly when you break it down. So there you go. But love Alan Moore. He's a great artist. Goldfinger was the third one, and this is the big one. You think about it, like people talk about threequels. Like the third movie is usually the worst, like if it makes it to 3. But like big series like this, like Goldfinger is one of the best movies in the series.
It's probably the best of the Sean Connery movies.
I would say so too. I get people who like From Russia with Love better. I understand that. But Goldfinger is just so exciting, and it's got like it's got the intro it's got the intro scene, it's got the intro song. It was the first one to start doing all that, and the villain is great. It's also the first movie.
I mean, you got Oddjob. I mean, who's not to love?
Oh yeah, like it's got a great henchman. Like and you know, Dr. No and Rosa Klebb were good villains too. What was the name of Rosa Klebb's henchman?
Oh God,
Red something. The blonde guy. It doesn't matter, but he was good. He was really good, actually. But Oddjob and Goldfinger are just like two of the... And Pussy Galore is really the villain for most of the movie.
I mean,
granted, I also love how not only is she a bad guy, but she's also a lesbian. But Bond, with the power of his giant penis, is able to bring her not only to the side of good, but also to the side of heterosexuality.
Okay, I wasn't going to bring this up, but since you went down that road there, if you thoroughly think about it, Bond really should have died years ago from some sort of STD. As many ladies as he's,
well, I mean, and we really like as much as I love these movies, you really gotta like put in perspective like how silly the male fantasy is of this. Like every situation can be either fucked or punched through. Like I'll blurb that out. Don't worry. But like every situation can be solved by some sort of a gun, if I may. But Yeah, it's pretty funny. But Pussy Galore is great. Pussy Galore is.
Well, I love the line in the airplane. He wakes up and he asks who she is, and she says her name, and his response is,
I must be
"You
dreaming. My name is Pussy Galore. Like, really? But I mean, like, she was a lesbian, so that was her name. That's all she thought about because she's a lesbian. Like, it was a different time, to be sure. But Goldfinger also, I think, was the first movie to use a laser.
It wasn't necessarily a real laser,
Right, but it was the first one
I'm not sure. I'm not.
maybe
sure about
not, maybe not. But I know, in the book, it was a buzz saw. It was a rotary saw.
that. Really?
Because lasers weren't invented yet in the 50s.
Well, I know.
Or if they were invented, they weren't.
I know that's one of the better lines also in that movie too. When Bond goes, "You expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die."
Yes, that is a good. I mean, if
and in Goldfinger, the guy you did Goldfinger, they overdubbed his voice with somebody else.
He didn't speak English.
He had German. Had such a thick.
Yeah. I mean,
and to watch it though, you never know they did that though because it seems so.
Whenever I talk about, I mean, I guess Bond villains might be more iconic than Spider-Man villains, but to compare the two, if the Green Goblin is Spider-Man's Blofeld, then Dr. Octopus is his Goldfinger. Like, the Green Goblin might be like the worst guy, the bigger villain, but Goldfinger and Dr. Octopus are just so much fun. Like, I mean, they're
okay. If you were able to see any of the older villains, either from Connery or Roger Moore, redone.
Well, we've already seen Blofeld
in today's.
So not counting
Blofeld, which one would you rather see come back? If they were to bring back one of those iconic, would it be Dr. No? Would it be Goldfinger? I mean. I don't know. There's too many you could bring back and do justice nowadays, but I mean,
Goldfinger could be a lot of fun.
Goldfinger could probably be done more in an economic type of way.
Yeah,
maybe in today's times instead of just hoarding gold. But
Silva kind of reminded me of Goldfinger, and I think I'm wrong there. I don't know why it reminds me of him. I think I'm actually in the wrong because I'm thinking about it now, and it's like there's nothing.
But then in the same sense, I don't know if you'd really want to redo. I mean, Blofeld's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's more or less kind of the overseer. So, I mean, he was played by different off and on throughout the series anyway.
Oh, he's Connery. Moriarty or his Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I mean, but as far as an actual villain that we're so used to.
Scaramanga could be fun. Well, no, I love Christopher Lee. I don't know if I'd like to see a different Scaramanga.
Yeah.
You know what? They could do another Mr. Big, because that character was so lame, and he's pretty cool in the book. What was the name? Baron Samedi. In the movie, they're two different characters, but in the book, Mr. Big is the same as Baron Samedi.
Really?
Baron Samedi is the persona that he puts on to, like, he's like an out-and-out supervillain in the book. Like, he becomes Baron Samedi when he, like, kills people and does his crimes. But in the movie, he's two different characters. Also in the movie, Baron Samedi might actually be magic. That's a weird movie. I don't know if you remember. Like, it's really weird.
It's been a while since I watched some of the older ones, so...
Thunderball is, it's based on the 8th book. It was originally meant as the first James Bond film.
That movie's caused a lot of headaches for the Bond producers.
Yes, it did. Decades of headache. Thunderball was at the center of a legal dispute that began in 1961 and ran until 2006. Former Ian Fleming collaborators Kevin McClory and Jack Whittingham sued Fleming shortly after the 1961 publication of the Thunderball novel, claiming he based it upon the screenplay the trio had earlier written for the failed cinematic movie. The sources for Thunderball are controversial. Blah blah blah. Let's see.
Well, let's see. The lawsuit was settled out of court.
It was settled out of court,
and McClory retained the screen rights to the novel story, plot, and characters, which resulted in the 1983 remake of it in Never Say Never with Sean Connery.
Yeah.
I know that's not technically an official Bond movie, but I kind of liked that movie just because it does have Sean Connery in it. I
don't really remember it too well. It had Kim Basinger, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Yeah. It's okay. It's got Connery playing Bond one last time, so what's not to like about it?
Wasn't he kind of playing an older
guy who was on
who was like
kind of close to his whatever the M in that particular movie supposedly had never really had a use for the way they did the movie. It didn't have a use for the double O's. Kind of thought they were archaic in a certain sense. By the end of the movie, Bond decides to retire. He's done.
So it's like the same storyline as Spectre. Not really.
Not really. It's a modern remake version of obviously Thunderball because it's got the same character.
Got Emil Largo in it, doesn't it?
It's got Largo in it
Blofeld,
still. It doesn't have Blofeld, but it does have Largo. Or at least I don't remember Blofeld being in that particular. It's not a bad movie. There's definitely other worse Bond movies out there.
Yeah.
I can see why they
say that.
It
came out the same year as Octopussy, and I'm going to assume that it's better. I haven't seen it in years, but I'm going to assume that it's better than Octopussy. Like, Octopussy's pretty bad. I think it might be the worst.
There's parts of Octopussy I don't mind.
Name one. And name one part you don't mind.
Put me on the spot right now.
I've actually tried to think of parts of Octopussy that I don't mind, and I can't. Like, the only thing I can think of is, well, the rotary saw on a string was kind of cool, but even that, it's like, why didn't he just use a gun? It'd be more effective.
Okay. Despite the merits of the movie, it did have the return for the first time first time another actor returned. What's her face?
No.
Who played Octopussy?
No, because Charles Gray played Blofeld.
No, I'm talking the female lead.
Oh, okay.
Because she was
in Man with the Golden Gun.
Yeah,
but she wasn't the main Bond girl in that one.
No, but it's first time someone had returned from a previous movie to play other than the already established.
I don't know why they couldn't have just made her the villain and actually did something interesting, like made it like
the female's a villain.
Yeah, like the female villain, Octopussy. She's.
They really haven't had a female villain other than her.
Elektra.
Elektra, but they haven't had where the main villain is truly just straight female.
Yeah, because even Elektra had the boyfriend,
right? The guy with the bullet still stuck in his head who didn't feel pain.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. No, Rosa Klebb from Russia with Love. She was the one. She had the shoes that would shoot out a knife with a poison dart.
But still, she wasn't necessarily truly the. But I don't know.
I would consider because Blofeld was in the shadows for the whole movie, so I'd consider her the main villain. It was either her or like the Red, whatever his name is, Red Gray. I don't think that's his name, but he seemed more like her henchman. So that one, I would say she was the main villain. But even that one's kind of debatable because it is all about Blofeld, but he's in the shadows for the whole movie. And question mark as Blofeld. You Only Live Twice. That one is actually based on the.
Okay. You Only Live Twice. It's got to be the worst looking. Trying to make Bond look like he's Japanese. God. Oh my God! Other than that, that movie's not that bad. But it's just
they're like
it's just like anyone who believes he actually looks Japanese is nuts.
Well. It's pretty racist, and it's like okay, we're gonna put squinty eyes on this white guy and then put him in Japan and fool all the Japanese people. It's like, no, they're gonna know what he's doing, and they're gonna be like, dude, that's not cool.
Skinny Japanese guy, skinny Japanese guy, skinny Japanese guy's really big and bulky, but he's not a sumo wrestler. Skinny Japanese. Oh, there he is, right there.
Yeah, yeah. It's like they're gonna know that you're wearing bad makeup. Okay, like people can tell. Man, yeah, that part is really stupid. Also, there's other problems with that movie. Like, remember how like Kissy Suzuki is supposed to be the main Bond girl, but she's like not a very good actress, so they have that other Asian who's way better. And then all of a sudden she gets killed, and then he's like, whatever. Hey, Kissy Suzuki, now you're going to be the Bond girl. And, like, it's really weird. And it's like, why didn't they just use the other one? She was a way better actress. She was, like, it's like, why did they kill her off? And even though they did, it's like, well, that poison... How does he just go from, like it's weird how they're, whatever. Like I know, like, Bond's kind of like that, but the whole movie's like,
That poison down the string thing, it's kind of a unique way of doing it. I don't know how accurate that really is.
Let's see
if that can really,
also
get something to go down the string.
The volcano scene at the end, like, I like it, but like, I saw Austin Powers first, and Austin Powers, like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's almost not parody. It's almost like just a remake at that point, like, because it's pretty corny. That whole volcano hideout is pretty goofy. Like, I would say this is the first movie that really starts to set the tone for the Roger Moore films. Like, before there was usually, like, they'd get a little goofy, but like there was still like realism to them. And this is the first one where it's like, no, they're gonna start going in a weird direction for the next decade or two. Then after that is On Her Majesty's Secret Service, starring George Lazenby. You put this in your bottom 5, right?
Oh, what movie are you talking about?
Yes. On Her Majesty's Secret Service. You put this one on your bottom 5.
Bottom period.
Really? Now that's not fair. Like, this movie's better than Octopussy.
Okay.
This movie's better than Diamonds Are Forever.
Okay. Okay. It might be better than Diamonds Are Forever, but I don't know. Something about that movie has always rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know. And it's not necessarily because Bond gets married and she dies. It's an interesting plot twist for Bond. I'll give him that. I don't know. There's something about it just has never...
Is it just George Lazenby? Because he's bad. He's a bad actor.
I don't know.
And like the idea that... Also, I'm going to point out, like, you can tell this is directed by somebody different than Guy Hamilton. And you can tell because there's a... And actually, he's really good. The action sequences are really good in this movie.
I mean, like
the skiing and stuff. Like, he's really good at that. But there's a part where you can tell that it's directed by someone else because... He must have missed something in the earlier movies because Blofeld and Bond don't know each other. And they just met in the previous movie. Now, the reason for that is because this book is the 10th book, and the last movie was the 11th book. So, like, the director was probably reading the book and like, okay, they meet for the first time, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yes, they're both different actors. Instead of Connery, we get Lazenby, and instead of Donald Pleasance, we get Telly Savalas. But it's like, I know they're different actors, but like, let's pretend like they know each other. But they're just like, hey, my name is Bond.
I don't know. It's just something about that movie's always rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's just one of those things.
It's a weird.
And
movie.
I've tried to rewatch it before to give it a better. I can't get through that movie.
Leonard Maltin said that if Sean Connery had played in that movie, that it would be the best one.
Really?
And I kind of agree. Like, I actually think
now that would have been a great ending for Connery to end his role on.
It would have, instead of the crappy one that he did. The thing is, like I know, like, Guy Hamilton's awesome. Everybody loves Guy Hamilton, but the director, I don't know who directed this one. Peter R. Hunt. I don't know what else he's done, but he he kind of reminds me of Sam Mendes in a way. Like, I mean, he knows photography. Like the shots are beautiful, and the action scenes for a 1969 movie, like those ski scenes are amazing. But yeah, there's just something weird about the movie. I think part of it is,
and it seems like it's one of the slower Bond movies.
It is, and that's the director did that on purpose. Like that's part of his, like, Sam Mendes kind of does that too. But Sam Mendes also knows when to speed it up. But that's also a movie made 40 years later when they can kind of figure this stuff out.
Her Majesty's Secret Service has never been high on my list of Bond movies, and it never will be. I don't care.
I think this one would be right in my middle because I like the story, I like the action, but the whole thing about them not knowing each other really bothers me. I don't like George Lazenby, but
no, George Lazenby did admit years later in interviews he got bad advice after he did on Majesty's Secret Service. And the reason why he didn't return, and he said, looking back, he should have ignored those people. He should have ignored those people and at least came back and at least done, at least one or two more Bond movies.
There's apparently, like when he went to the premiere, I was reading that.
He let his hair grow out.
Yeah,
and
he
beard,
went in a beard and like
they didn't want him looking that way.
Broccoli, the producers were pissed.
He was being a rebellious, but he was also. In between time it premiered and he finished, he had gotten bad advice and was hanging out with some people he probably shouldn't have. And he admitted later, not doing any more Bond movies is probably the biggest mistake he ever made.
Yeah, that's pretty stupid. Did you ever see Ted?
Oh, I've seen Ted. Yeah,
I think. Maybe this isn't the movie. I know they make fun of what's his name from Superman Returns. Maybe they don't compare him in this movie. I don't know, but. The guy from Superman Returns kind of reminds me of George Lazenby. It's like they get like a guy who's good looking or whatever, but like zero charisma, like just nothing going on and just bad acting. And it's like, oh, there goes his career. But like,
of course, then again, if he'd come back and say done Diamonds Are Forever, I mean, and that movie was still the same way. I mean, he could have been known for the two of the more.
You know what though, like. Even on that regard, though, Diamonds Are Forever, Sean Connery at the beginning when he, thinks he kills Blofeld, he's like, Blofeld, I'm going to kill you. And it's like, dude, Sean, did you not see the last movie? He killed your wife. Like, you're acting like he, ate the last donut or whatever. Like, you don't seem mad at all. I thought this was the revenge story.
I think it's
not.
Is it For Your Eyes Only? They make reference with Roger Moore that he.
They do.
I believe it's that one.
They do. And actually, going back to the comic book For Your Eyes Only, they follow it really well, and you can actually see even in the comic, they don't call him Blofeld, but they follow it really well, and He kills Blofeld, but you never see his face. You just see him in a wheelchair. Which, by the way, he was in a wheelchair because he was shot in Honor Majesty's Secret Service, but he's freaking fine in Diamonds Are Forever. I mean, here's the thing about the Bond movies.
Inconsistent.
They're very inconsistent because they don't give a shit. And it gets pretty crazy. That's why I really like the Daniel Craig ones, because they finally start caring about stuff like this. But yeah, they don't ever call him Blofeld in For Your Eyes Only because he was part of that legal dispute. Spectre was part of that legal dispute, so they couldn't use that character. Diamonds Are Forever sucks. I hate that movie. I read the book. The book's actually pretty good. And Jimmy Dean is in that movie. That movie's just awful. Like that, and remember Bambi and Thumper?
Oh God!
That is just man. Or that scene where he's on a set that's creating the moon landing.
Oh yeah.
And then he drives out of there on a buggy. What the fuck is going on here? I'll edit that later. Yeah, that movie's just. hate that movie. Live and Let Die. Best part. There are two really good things about Live and Let. Well, it's the first Roger Moore movie, but there are two really good things about Live and Let Die. The Paul McCartney and Wings song. I would say, like, most people would say it's the best Bond song. I'd say it's maybe the second best. I really like the Goldfinger song.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly the best Wings song, and one of, I do think it's the best Wings song. I mean, and maybe one of Paul McCartney's best songs too. It's an amazing song. And Jane Seymour is in that movie, and Jane Seymour is super hot, and she's awesome. She's really good in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually the second book.
Really?
Yeah, it's the second book in the series.
Huh.
Man with the Golden Gun. A lot of people consider this the worst one, and I don't agree with that. It's a bad movie, don't get me wrong, but it's bad in the way that The Room or Plan 9 from Outer Space is bad, where it's like, it's bad, but it's really enjoyable at the same time.
Yeah, I can sit through The Man with the Golden Gun a hell of a lot easier than I can Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah,
so.
like it also has that crazy song by Lulu. The overly sexual. That song, actually, The Man with the Golden Gun is like the most coked out movie. It's like so raunchy and weird. Everyone involved in that movie was just coked out of their mind right in the middle of the 70s.
Well, that's when he did two Bond movies back to back. I mean, in years.
That's right, yeah.
Because he did 73, right. And then the man goes 4, and then they took a 3-year break in between.
And actually, while we're at it, let me point out, Live and Let Die starts a trend, and not just Roger Moore, but it starts a trend that they keep throughout the movies, and The Man with the Golden Gun continues. Live and Let Die is, I think, the first Bond movie where they kind of start ripping off other movies that were popular a few years before. Like, Live and Let Die's got that blaxploitation thing. Man with the Golden Gun has all this, Japanese and Chinese, like, kung fu and martial arts movies.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure about The Spy Who Loved Me, but Moonraker's obviously a ripoff of Star Wars. Let's see, Goldeneye is very Spielbergy. Like, if you watch that movie, like, it's got, like, shots that are straight out of Jurassic Park. And then, of course, the rest of the Brosnan movies, like, almost feel like, kind of like a little bit of what's his name? Michael Bay or John Woo or something like that. And then you got Casino Royale, Batman Begins, Quantum of Solace, The Bourne Identity, Skyfall, Dark Knight. Spectre's more like Skyfall, but it borrows a little bit from the Marvel movies too. Like, yeah. So like there is this trend of like the Bond movies are gonna kind of rip off what was popular 2 years before. Like you see that starting in Live and Let Die.
I know this has nothing to do with the movies. Well, it sort of does, but it doesn't. Would Bond ever make a good television series, let's say, like on Netflix? Like,
probably. Like Daredevil was amazing.
Like Marvel's done with Daredevil.
Yeah.
I mean, would that take away from the movies? Or would that be something, or something in the vein of, not to say you don't have to necessarily see 007, but maybe another 00 in the essence of Bond. I don't know, but I mean, you think Bond, with that rich kind of history it has in that setting, would almost be.
I kind of feel like in 10 years, the big movie, like there's going to be movies, but the big movie thing is going to implode eventually. It's going to stop, and it's going to start being a streaming thing. Like, we're starting to see it with, like, Daredevil, and there's the Narcos is a good show. There's all these shows that can basically give you not the budget and feel and quality of a movie, but also the story pacing, character development that you can get from a book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, they're able to do that.
No, you think Bond is suffering right now? I don't want to say suffering. Harder time to prove itself when you have movie series out there like The Bourne Identity with Damon.
No, because Skyfall turned around and was awesome. Like I think they did when they did Quantum of Solace and tried to be Bourne. That was a misstep. But then they turned around and did Skyfall and turned into their own thing again. No, there's always been stuff. Like, I mean, when James Bond was in the 60s, they had the TV shows like
The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Mission Impossible. Yeah, like, I mean, there's always been competition. And James Bond is not always the best thing out there. Like, as we've gone over, some of these movies suck. Like, suck. Like, they are, like, these are what we're talking about when back in the day, they used to have really bad movies. Some of these movies are really bad. Moonraker is a really bad movie. Octopussy's a really bad movie. The Man with the Golden Gun is a likable movie, but it's bad. Like, it's a bad movie. Like, I really like it, but I can't say it's a good movie. Like, I can't say it like, it's got a good villain, but it's really, that is a weird movie. The Man with the Golden Gun. That is a weird movie. But yeah, though, like, I still like the series. GoldenEye, of course, brought us the N64 game.
Uh-huh.
You know what GoldenEye is named after? It is named after, I should have said this at the beginning of the show, it's named after Ian Fleming's Jamaican estate, where he wrote, at his estate in Jamaica, that's where he wrote all the James Bond books.
Uh-huh.
So it was called GoldenEye.
Really?
Yeah, so that's where that comes from, which is a neat title. But I think we pretty much covered most of the movies. Like, we skipped over a couple, but
yeah. I mean, you talk about one Bond movie, you almost talk about them all. I mean,
yeah, they're the same.
So interchangeable.
Yeah.
I mean, you get different. I think where the differences come is in
quality.
Is in quality and in the actor who's portraying Bond at the time.
The one difference, I will say, Daniel Craig is the one difference. Like, this is the one actor where they just haven't been emulating
somebody else.
Yeah, they haven't been emulating the Connery formula. And even Spectre borrows from the Connery formula a little bit, but it certainly isn't emulating it. But yeah. What's your least? Oh wait, Honor Majesty's Secret Service. That is interesting. Yeah, mine is definitely Octopussy. I can't think of a good thing about that movie, like, at all. Like, I like to play this game where it's like, if you think a movie sucks, if you can name 10 things that you like about that movie, then it doesn't completely suck. I'm not sure if I could name 2 things that I liked about Octopussy.
Really?
Yeah, it's a bad movie. I played that game before. Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, I could not name a single thing that I liked about that movie. Like, that is a 0 movie.
The only good thing about that movie is the final credit on that movie, because it's over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a bad movie. I never want to see that movie again.
Oh, my God. I don't see why Christopher Reeve even did that movie. I don't see how you can
maybe he needed to pay off his car. I don't know, but
I mean,
well, actually, I do know. Like, it sounds like that. What was that Globe, whatever the name of that company was that took over? I think they scammed Christopher Reeve and Gene Hackman.
I mean, because
people pretty bad.
I mean, Superman 3 is not the greatest movie either, but that at least would have been a better movie to say that was your last Superman movie than Superman 4 to say, oh yeah, that was his last.
It sounds like from what I read, they scammed. They were a production company of scammers, and they scammed everybody and, like, gave them all these big ideas and gave them, like, false numbers for the budget and stuff like that. And
I mean,
so they were giving them false information. So they're like, sure, yeah, let's do it. And then you get on board, and you're like, oh my god.
I think that movie would have been better if you'd have just lost Nuclear Man.
That movie would have been better if it just didn't exist. There's nothing good about that movie.
True, but
it's got the guy from 2.5 Men in it. He plays Lex Luthor's nephew, Lenny Luthor.
Okay.
2.5 Men. I don't know.
It's been so long since I've seen Superman 4. I know who's in 2.5 Men, but
it's terrible. That's a bad show in and of itself. But like it's better than Superman 4.
Lenny Luthor.
Lenny Luthor. Yes.
Lenny Luthor.
His radical nephew.
Wow.
Yeah, that's bad.
Well, if we see that in Batman versus Superman, there's trouble.
Well, I don't know. I think that pretty much covers Bond. Can you think of anything else?
No, I mean, I'm sure you could go on forever.
For days, yeah.
Days. I mean, you sit there, you could almost watch every Bond movie and just do an hour-long podcast on each movie after you watch them. But
no,
the Bond franchise is a very unique movie franchise worldwide.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have too many franchises like it.
No.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you got the Bond franchise. I mean, Star Wars. I mean, I don't know how many else you could put in there.
It's almost its own subgenre.
Yeah.
Like it really is.
I mean, it's the ultimate kind of spy franchise movie.
It's also the ultimate male fantasy movie.
Yeah, oh yes.
Although they've kind of gotten away with that.
They don't exploit like they used to.
Yeah.
They
started getting away with that with Brosnan, but with Craig, they've really like matured a lot.
They've toned it down. I mean, he still sleeps around, but it's not as.
But they
blatant.
don't. Yeah, but they don't glorify it. They're like the movie kind of makes it out like he's kind of a dick. Like I mean.
Well, and if you think about it, a real life spy like Bond would never be that openly just out there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the ultimate fantasy spy story of a spy because as a spy, you're not. You don't want your identity to be known that well. You're not going to be sleeping around with a bunch of women. You're not going to be just to get your job done. You're going to be doing it quietly and without anyone really knowing that you did anything. It's not going to be some big. You're not going to hold a chase in the middle of Rome to get away from your bad guy. I mean, come on. It works in the movies. It works on screen. It works as an entertainment factor. But in real life,
if you're a real spy, don't do it.
If you're a real spy, you're watching the Bond movies, going, "Yeah, no way, dude."
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure Bond will be around for a long time to come. I mean, I don't see that franchise going away anytime soon.
No.
I mean, they'll keep updating it with the times. You may get times where it's maybe 4 or 5 years in between certain things, but it's going to be one of those things. It's a huge moneymaker, and the movie studios are not going to let it go away anytime soon.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
Well, Reggie, thanks for coming on.
Oh, no problem.
Well, everyone, get ready. We should be having on reggiestake.com, we should be having, if it's not out yet, check out our pre-game show of Star Wars.
Well, by the time this part 2 comes out,
it's probably going to be the post-game.
Yeah, that should be coming out. That should already be out. Yeah, we should. 20. At the time we're recording this, 2015 is pretty close to coming to an end. 2016 is here. 2016's got a lot of movies coming out. Mm-hmm. We really need to kind of do a, look back at 2015 and look ahead to 2016 type of podcast.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Split it up a little bit between the two.
I'd do that.
Maybe we can get Sean involved in that one.
I think so.
if he's not too exhausted from Mickey and Minnie.
Right. Well, everyone, have a good night. Thanks for tuning in.